Welcome to another episode of Vet Sequence. I am your host, Addy Half, and with me always is LaWayne Austin. You can follow us on all social medias under Vet Sequence. I'm Addy Half on Insta and Twitter, and Hendrix is Atlas Chronicles 1 on Twitter, and the same on Facebook and Twitter or Instagram. Before we jump in today's episode, I found the APA Association for Psychology, or damn it, I fucked that one up. You're gonna have to cut the shit out of this. Americans Psychological Association definition for trauma, and it is trauma is the emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches and nausea. Like I said last week, we are a mental health podcast, and we're going to start hearing when we do have guests on. We're going to hear their pain and how they got through it. So today is an awesome episode because I get to know him better. It's my sister's husband, beautiful dude, went through a lot in his life, and I'm excited to hear his story today. So welcome, Michael James. All right, Mike. So we talked earlier on in the week, and we went through and had a list of pinpoint list of where this trauma has occurred in your life. And shortly before we started recording, you said you found some more. So go ahead and start us off with your earliest trauma.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll begin at the beginning of my life. June 15th, 1985. I was born. Yay. So after my birth, my mom actually had developed asthma. So this will play later on into life, but I figured I better share that because it's kind of important.
Yeah.
So just growing up, I didn't have a bad childhood or nothing. It's kind of average, I suppose, from where we're from. I'm from Green River, Wyoming, 12 miles away from where Addie's from.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've ran into each other before and never really knew it, but
Probably.
So my dad worked at the mines, the Trona mines outside of Green River, his entire career of me being alive. And he liked to, on the weekends, go down, play pool with his friends at the bar. There's about 100 bars in Green River. So he'd go play pool with his friends. And I suppose you could say he had a bit of an alcohol abuse problem, and he liked to drink when he was out. And sometimes he just would drink too much, come home, but I guess that'll play later. So my first real memory of trauma, I guess you'd say, was I was 5 years old, I think, and my parents had this big water bed. It was like really, really tall. To me, it looked like it was way huge. And they didn't have the water bed in it. They just had a regular mattress. So kitty corner from that was their dresser. And on top of it was one of those TVs with the turn knob.
Yeah.
Some people probably won't know what I'm talking about if you're young. Well, I was reaching over to turn the knob on it, and the knob fell and broke, and I fell like off the bed, and my tooth went right into my lip.
Oh.
I just remembered that today. Haley helped me. My wife helped me bring up some memories. But yeah, so that was about the first trauma that I remember in my life, falling off a water bed.
Well, I think that kind of fits into the whole general child physical traumas. I mean,
yeah,
I was accident prone as fuck when I was little, and I fell down concrete steps face first, because I wasn't paying attention.
That's funny. As soon as I told Haley that story, she told me that story.
Yeah.
So she's like, "You guys are a lot alike." Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then, so then what's after this?
So growing up, I lived on one side of town in Green River, and I started going to this elementary school. And I guess they kind of realized that I was kind of hyperactive and I like to talk a lot and interrupt a lot. But back in the day, they didn't really have ADD or whatever, ADHD or whatever it's called when you're a kid. So they sent me to this special school across town for it's called the Pep and Pie program, where they would work with kids like me who were hyperactive and crazy. Well, growing up, I had this best friend. His name is Kirby. I've known the kid pretty much my whole life. We used to hang out. He used to live up around the corner from me. And me and that kid went to the same class across town because we were both hyperactive and crazy. Well, this kid, he had a bit of an eye problem, so he'd wear a patch sometimes and glasses. And me and him would always get in fights, and I'd always break his glasses. He lived with his nan and his grandpa. And his nan, I swear to God, she hated me because I'd come over all the time, and she'd have to buy new glasses for him all the time because I'd always break them. Kind of a dick, really.
Kind of a dick move.
But yeah, so I remember that. But so growing up,
so with you going into this separate school, I know through the psychology side, I don't know much, but through personal experience, I had to go to special classes. There was always reading compensation classes because I was like you, ADD, couldn't stay focused, couldn't sit still. And when I would they'd call on me to read in class, I would just come under this overwhelming pressure. It's not that I couldn't read out loud, but it was so nervous that I was going to fuck up and people were going to make fun of me that they thought I had a reading problem. So their solution was stick him in a reading composition class. And I started that. I think I started that 4th grade. How did all this make you feel as a kid? Because you are different. You are getting sent to a special, quote unquote, special school.
Honestly, it didn't really make me feel bad or anything. I did spend a lot of time in the hallway or the principal's office. So that wasn't very fun. Going to the hallway wasn't bad because I really, throughout school, I hated school.
Well,
it wasn't what I wanted to do, I don't know. So it didn't really make me feel bad, I guess. But now looking back to, having some life experience, I'm like, wow, I should have been in something a little bit more special than that special class.
Special class.
One time, so at this school, there was this bully. I don't even remember who it was, but I wasn't really scared of anybody. I don't know why. I was a little tiny dude, and I was just fire, man. Whoever was messing with me, I wasn't scared of nobody. Well, this one bully was picking on me, and I went home, and my oldest sister, Chantel, so I have 2 sisters and a brother. So my oldest sister, she had some ninja stars. So I went and I took her ninja stars, and I went to school and threatened this kid with ninja stars.
I'll fucking ninja star you in the fucking face.
Yeah, you can definitely say I got my ass kicked for that one.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so growing up, my dad once, so I got in a fight with this kid at school. And my dad came home from playing pool one night. It was probably 2 a.m. We were all sleeping. We all used to dread when my dad would come home from the middle of the night. So we'd all just pretend we're asleep, even if we're not asleep. And he used to wake us up for these family meetings in the middle of the night if he had something to say or whatever. And so one night, I remember I got in a fight with this kid at school, and he comes in and wakes me up, and he made me punch this pillow for 3 hours. I was like, I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed.
Why do you feel looking back on that now though? Why do you think he was having you punch the pillow?
Well, I mean, obviously he wanted me to protect myself and be able to stand up for myself. So
maybe he also wanted you to take your aggression out on a pillow instead of getting in trouble on somebody's face,
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably most certainly right, because come to find out, I'm a lot like my dad. He would go out and people would try to, because he's not a huge guy. He's a little bit bigger than me, but he's a firecracker too. So people would try to start fights with him at the bar. And I mean, later on, I'll tell you the stories of me in the same situations, but I'm definitely a lot like my dad in that aspect. But
so when you're experiencing this stuff, your dad coming home middle of the night, drunk, pulling family together, does this register to you as normal, like a normal family, or is it just what the fuck, Dad? What are you doing?
Back then it was normal because that's what happened. I didn't know anything else. And my dad is my best friend. I love my dad. He's the coolest dude. He's not the same dude he ever was back in the day now. So, but that's what he thought he needed to do. So that's what he did, and that's what happens, I guess.
How do you think that affected you though throughout life? Like these surprise attacks, if you want to call them that.
Well, it definitely made me nervous for just like throughout my life of somebody kind of doing the same kind of thing to me, like surprising me for any kind of reason, making me do something I'm not supposed to do. It definitely messed me up a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Of course. Makes you a little anxious in that situation.
Makes me anxious, most certainly. Probably throughout my whole life now.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to your big list now. Where you're at 8 and you're go ahead and walk us through that.
Well, I'll start with my other sister, Jessica. So my family is definitely a modern family, so they call. So my brother and my sister Chantel are my half brother from my dad. And then my sister Jessica was my mom's daughter before they met up, and here I am. So we're all half, but we don't call each other half, brother and sister. But my sister Jessica, my mom's daughter, I'd say she's like 6 years older than me or something like that, maybe something like that. But she took me everywhere with her. I was attached to her hip. She'd go to babysit kids. She was way good with kids, so all her friends would have her babysit because her friends were those kind of girls who were already pregnant and had kids when they were teenagers and stuff. So my sister would babysit for these kids and take me with her everywhere, and all my parents' friends' kids, she'd babysit them, and she'd take me everywhere and do everything for me. I would just say that she was like my second mom because I was with her more than anyone. She was the person that meant the most to me in my entire life, you know, up into, so, but we used to fight. We used to fight like bad. I had such a bad temper. One time I remember we were fighting and my dad worked graveyards. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Oh,
gotta be quiet. Gotta be quiet when dad's sleeping. Oh, yeah. We would get into some fights, and we got in this one fight over the Nintendo once. And my dad, I just know, come downstairs, came over to us and just smashed the Nintendo with his foot and went back upstairs.
Fuck yo, Nintendo.
He's like, you know what? I paid for this shit. Smash. But yeah, we used to fight a lot, me and my sister Jessica.
I think that's kind of expected within siblings. Me and Michael never really got into it, but we definitely we've had our bouts here and there, but I don't think I think it only came to blows one time. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and then my brother Richard and my sister Chantel used to think I was some kind of a plaything or like a play doll or something. And my brother used to hang me up over the banister of the stairs upside down and push me down the stairs in a laundry basket covered with a blanket. And he taught me how to put a mattress at the bottom of the stairs, and I would jump off the top of the stairs onto the mattress at the bottom of the stairs.
You're the daredevil, the stunt man.
Yeah, I guess so.
I'll give you a pixie stick if you jump down the stairs.
Yeah, for sure. And I did it. Yep, it was pretty fun. It's fun to me. I never broke anything. Thank God doing that. Yeah.
That's good.
So, but yeah, I guess. So like I said, my mom, she developed asthma when she gave birth to me. And my parents used to fight a lot when my dad would go out and drinking and all that, you know. I don't know. Like I said, he's a firecracker too. So bad temper. Yeah. We blame it on being a Garcia. It's just, we all kind of have a bad temper. But one time they got in this fight really, really bad. And my mom had this asthma attack that it was so bad that the neighbors came and got me. And my mom literally died and had to be resuscitated from what now is this kid I know. He's my friend. His dad is a cop, or was a cop in Green River, and he's the one who saved her life. And so I always remember that. I wasn't there, and I didn't see it because I was across the street, but it's just something that always stuck with me. Like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Good thing you didn't see it, because I think that would have hit harder. I think that would have stuck in the brain a little harder.
Yeah.
If you would have saw it. But yeah, that's good that you didn't get to see that. But when you go through something like that, like after the adrenaline rush and shit like that, is this now a constant worry that something like this is going to happen again? Is this just like camping out in the back of your brain?
I honestly, it probably is for the good because, as you know, your sister has asthma, and it's more of a active asthma, and she gets panic attacks sometimes. So I kind of am like, I don't ever want to have that to happen to her. So I can soothe her, and it stuck with me in a way that is a good way, not a bad way.
Yeah, you learn
So
through experience how to handle
yeah,
that.
yeah, like I don't want to have to call the ambulance for her,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. Hmm.
So
Okay. Um. Yeah. Okay. So then this happens at 8, and does it like is this an ongoing problem now with your mom that she has this asthma? Is it like these constant asthma attacks, or is it just the
it
kind of one and done?
it was, I don't even know, up until probably my late teens. She went to Denver to some hospital down there and got treated, and she really hasn't had any asthma problems ever since.
Hmm.
Kind of weird.
That is weird. Alrighty, so now I know you're really close with your sister, and this is probably going to be one of your harder stories to talk about. But I would like you to walk me through, um, from your perspective. I want to know through your eyes how you got the news of your sister's death and how that affected you, like the direct impact of that.
Um, so this might take me a minute.
Go ahead, think about it, take a breath.
So I remember we were at home. It was nighttime, and my sister, her friend, it was her friend, and this little girl she was watching. We're gonna go to Salt Lake, and it was in winter. It was February, so they went to Salt Lake, and my dad didn't even know that they were going. I didn't know they were going. I think my mom only knew they were going. Well, so later that night, my dad was in bed because he was on Graves. I was in the living room, and my mom, I think, was in the living room, and we got this knock on the door, and there's a guy dressed in a black suit, and immediately my stomach just dropped because I didn't know, but I knew something was wrong. Who shows up at your house in a black suit in the middle of the night? So I just remember him. He told my mom, and my mom, it's her daughter. She freaked out. And then I found, as soon as I heard what happened, I just started bawling. And I remember my dad, he was in his chonies because he was in bed, comes running down the hallway asking what happened. And he told him. And then after that, that night was pretty much a blur. I don't really remember too much after that the night.
That's when the shock set in.
Yeah, definitely. But I do remember we had to go because it was on I-80. It was just past Little America.
Yeah.
And it was milepost 63. I'll always remember that. But we went there like a couple days later to go pick up her stuff that was still on the freeway. What had happened was the girl driving had it on cruise control, and it was black ice. You shouldn't do that if you don't know how to drive on ice. Well, she did that, and they flipped. Well, my sister looked back because she was always the protector of the kids. So she looked back at the little girl and like put her arm on the little girl and was making sure she was okay. Oh, there was 3 girls. There's my sister and 2 of her friends. But anyway, so there's the driver. My sister was in the passenger seat. Their other friend, Tina, and then the baby was in the middle in the car seat. So she'd reach back and protected her, and she had her seatbelt on, and they rolled. And the driver lived, and the little girl lived. My sister and her friend, Tina, both died. So then my parents had to go identify her, and my mom wouldn't let me come, obviously, because that's
that'd be
trauma.
That's horrible.
Trauma. Yeah.
At 11 years old, I don't think any 11-year-old could handle that.
No, definitely not. Especially the person you're closest to in the world.
Exactly.
But So after that, we went to the site, cleaned up her stuff, and I'll always remember there was a giant blood stain on the freeway. So that has been in my head ever since.
Oh yeah.
And then, so the funerals, my sister's was a closed casket. Her friend's was an open casket. And I always remember her friends because when I saw her, she did not look the same. She did not look like the same chick.
Yeah.
So my parents wouldn't let me see my sister even like after they'd done everything, and because she didn't look the same, and my mom didn't want me to.
Yeah. That's not a good last image. That's when my wife's mom died, and they decided to take the plug, pull the plug. I told her not to go. I was like, Joe, don't do it. You don't want to remember your mom's face as a dead face the rest of your life. I was like,
Yep.
don't just don't. It's
remember
gonna
having-
suck. It's gonna suck not getting to say your goodbye, but dude, it's better than seeing that white, lifeless face.
Yep.
You know. Well, props to your parents for fucking seeing that and keeping
Yeah,
you
for
from
sure.
that.
For sure.
Now, going forward past funerals and stuff like that, how do you notice a shift in yourself? Do you
So
notice that like there's a piece of that childhood that's in every one of us is a little bit dead, or
I remember that after that, I was still in, I think I was like, I don't know, 6th grade or something like that. I had missed the entire rest of the school year from like half of the school year I missed just from this. I couldn't go back. I was too messed up. And somehow
was there ever therapy? Was that ever an option, or was it just
nope, no therapy. It's just, back in those days, that just wasn't a thing. It's not like today, it's just different, but I never went to, go ahead.
No, it's just a different worlds, Back then was, men kind of push that shit down. You don't show it, or you're weak, and kind of now it's where you're starting to realize slowly that hey, you kind of got to let that shit out, or it builds up.
That's for sure. So, and back then, after that happened, I kind of realized I was more of a help my family get through it, and I would be the jokester, and I would laugh, and I'd hide my feelings, and I've been like that ever since. I just would rather people be happy, and get through what they're getting through, and I just deal with my shit by myself.
Yeah, but that's
not good.
It's not good, but it's good for others. You know what I mean? It benefits others for sure.
Yeah.
But for the self, it's you're using that humor as an emotional scapegoat instead of dealing with the shit that you're feeling. And fuck, I do this too. That's hard to overcome and conquer, but there are ways to do it. And the way to do it is to plant the feet and feel what the fuck you're feeling and understand why you're feeling what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Decode the emotion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've learned that. It's taken a long time, but I've learned that. But that'll come later, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a little side story before my sister passed. I remember this was kind of a funny little story. She was babysitting these people that I grew up with. My dad worked with their dad, and we were over at their house, and I was coloring, and this picture had fallen off the wall behind us. So I was like, oh, what the heck? So I put it up behind me. Well, it must have like had a hairline crack or something, and it was right behind me. And I don't know how this even happened, but it fell again, and a piece of glass went right into my ass. So I run down to my sister. I'm like, help. My sister Jessica, I'm like, help. And she's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm all holding my ass, and it's all blood all over it. And I show her, and there's a piece of glass stuck in my ass, and I had to go to the hospital.
Jesus.
So I still got a scar on my ass from this piece of glass. Good times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But, now, looking back now and having such a early experience with death, Do you think that has prepared you for the rest of your life? Because now you know you don't have that typical childhood mindset anymore. You have that kind of that adult type of thinking of, oh fuck, I can die, because you've seen it happen. Or was it just kind of ignored and just?
I think I was just too traumatized to realize that at that point of my life. I mean, I was 11. I didn't know what the hell was going on. All I cared about was video games and riding bikes,
Yeah.
you know? So I didn't know what was going on. I knew, but I just was too traumatized that I didn't.
In the couple months after your sister's death, how did you handle yourself since you didn't have access to school and you weren't going to see friends? Like what was the distraction?
I don't even remember.
Video games, or
I don't know. No idea.
kind of block that time off from yourself?
I must have.
Go ahead, Hendrix.
It's called flooding.
Flooding doesn't work. You got to deal with your problems.
It obviously worked. I mean, he doesn't even know what happened.
Hendrix.
There you go. It didn't work.
Didn't work.
The only way to get through such a thing like that, like losing a sibling at such a young age in those formative years, is yeah, that's tough, man. And how did when you went back to school eventually that next year, was it different? Were you treated different by people because you had a sibling pass, or was it like how were you treated after that?
Yeah, I mean, all the people who knew me, they definitely treated me different. You know, they felt
yeah.
sorry for me and all of that. But after that, I don't know. I wasn't really a popular kid in school, you know, and I got made fun of a lot. I used to think I was a gangster and I'd wear my hat like right here and I'd always walk around looking like this. My brother's influence, most certainly, because
Yeah.
he was always kind of a G.
Yeah.
But you know, you look up to your older brother. But no, I mean, nobody else really did. Nobody really treated me different. It just brought out more anger in me and more special needs, I suppose. I needed more attention. So I got kicked out of class more and went to the principal more and was more angry. I was actually angry, not just throwing temper tantrums. I was just actually pissed off all the time.
Pissed off at the world because your sister was taken.
Yep.
It's understandable, man. Damn. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and stop right there.